Welcome to Greige Against the Machine, the podcast where we celebrate the extraordinary talent and accomplishments of lesser-known and even unknown artists and creatives. I'm Lisa Katara alongside Justin Harvey, and each week we'll explore the minds and stories of the journeymen and women behind your favorite films, shows, ads, music, and more. Those who craft magic without the red carpet spotlight or public eye, because everyone has a unique story to tell, and sometimes the most inspiring voices are the ones you haven't heard yet. Let's get into it.
Lisa, welcome.
We did
Greige
it.
Against the Machine.
Greige Against the Machine, episode 1, the launch. Hi, Justin.
How have you been?
I'm good. I miss your face, and I'm glad that we're here.
You're good. I'm terrible. I'm just going to start off hot. I'll tell you why I'm terrible, because the world is a mess. Our industry is a mess. There's so many things that we absolutely have to talk about. Lisa and I don't get enough time to connect. So we're going to do it right here for all of you guys. And hopefully it's super duper entertaining. Now, the first thing I'm going to ask you about this name, Greige Against the Machine, because this was an idea that you had that I love.
Yeah.
And you can see that way. She's got the gray. I've got the beige. It's the greige. But explain to people what the heck that is, because I can guarantee you everyone's like, what the hell is this title, Greige Against the Machine?
Yeah, I don't get it. So first of all, you and I are music fans and fans of Rage Against the Machine. And the whole movement about, like you said, the world is crazy, right? And everyone's kind of like standing for something, you know? Well, one thing I noticed during pandemic is that the regular public, the general public who love all the work that we create, don't know anything about 96% of the entertainment industry. They just kind of assume that we're at the red carpet parties and the affairs and in the mansions, and like, you know, we make your content, and we're real people, and we're laborers, and we have stories. You know, we know people that have incredible journeys, like really wild, awesome, right? And I want to tell them. So it's the greige area. It's neither here nor there. It's the one that's ignored. Greige.
Well, I have to say it's genius, because I'm looking at my carpet right now, and it is definitely not red. It's beige. My wall's beige. The carpet's beige. My life is beige. And I'm normally wearing a gray shirt, but today I decided black would be the thing. So I'll tell you what I've loved about this forever. And Lisa and I have talked about doing this forever. Please ignore the fact that it took us 5 years too long to actually do this podcast. But working class Hollywood is a thing that people don't necessarily get. And it's also an infinitely interesting thing. And it works across the board for a lot of different areas of Hollywood. You know, like I work primarily in unscripted TV, but I've also been in music and was a scripted comedy writer for a while. Lisa has done acting and stunt work and music and writing and artwork and photography. And so we've both touched all these different areas of the entertainment industry, and we've met these wonderful people, and you don't know who the hell they are. We barely knew who the hell they were until they were in front of us, and you're like, oh my God, the art that you do is ridiculous.
Right.
Some of those people get paid very well. Some of those people don't. Some of them work super hard. Some of these people it's super easy for, but they're not George Clooney. They're not J-Lo. They're not the people that you know. They haven't been in a Harry Potter movie. Like, they're not, but yet they're a working part of this industry. Like, you know, I've got a good friend that I used to do a wrestling podcast with, Jimmy Velasco, who has worked at Disney since Captain America Civil War. He's got his name on, I don't know, 40 freaking Marvel movies, but do you know who this guy is?
Right.
Nope. Maybe we'll get Jimmy on here one day to talk about it. I don't know. What are you looking forward to most about doing this, Lisa?
I want to tell stories. I am passionate about storytelling, and it doesn't matter what the medium is. I'm an artist like you. I wear many hats. I'm into lots of different things. It's always about the stories. It's never just about the product that you see at the end. How did we get there? And it's the people. It's the people that make these things happen, and their voices matter. Their stories need to be told.
Well, we're the people today.
That's right.
We talked this over, and it's like, who could be the best guest for the first episode? And the answer is her.
Us.
And her answer is me. So
yeah, for sure.
what you guys get for today is you get a little look at Lisa and I. You know, I'm a TV producer and director. Lisa's an actress, and I don't even know that's the first question. What do you qualify yourself as? What is your
I'm a
what's your
public
field? What do you do?
public figure at this point. It's so generic. I'm
You're
a
reasonably
multi-hyphenate.
known public person.
I'm Lisa. I am from Cleveland, Ohio. By the way, what you guys don't know is that Justin is my bestie from childhood. Like we go way, way back. And it's somewhere in our journeys, we got away from each other. The time has a way of kind of getting away from you. Our journeys went in separate directions. And I was excited and dumbfounded that we wound up in the same industry in completely separate wings of the same building, you know? So hugely happy. And I finally got to see you in California. And I was like, it's like we never lost a step.
And when we say we go way back, like Lisa and I used to ride bikes together, guys. Like we're talking childhood friends. Like we would ride our bikes around Cleveland Heights, Ohio, and go places. And I would be gassed because she was a much better bike rider than I was. Even even though I played football and wrestled, she was still in better shape than I was. She was like, "What are you doing back there? Let's go."
Now, hang on. So to be fair, even very young, I remember you being incredibly entrepreneurial. Like you had like a business all the time. So I had time to ride my bike. Plus, I was in music, which is, you know.
I'm going to tell you a funny story. So
Yeah.
that started. I drew this picture of Michael Jackson, and I think in 1980. I don't want to age myself too much. Let's just say it was the 80s, so you know that I'm reasonably a certain age. And I drew this picture of Michael Jackson, and I liked it, and I started modifying it, and I traced it. I traced what I did and did another one, and made some changes and put them in a different outfit or something. And then I went to the public library and I made photocopies of these things. And then I was selling them to my friends for like 27 cents or something ridiculous, like enough for the copy plus 300% profit margin. Like I was literally, and my dad was like, "Are you scamming kids?" I was like, "No, I'm selling them prints. I'm selling like, if you can buy a Picasso print, why can't you buy my Michael Jackson Scribble Scrabble print?" Like, and my friends were buying them.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, but you were cool. Like people genuinely liked what you were about, what you stood for.
Cool.
Like me too.
You're
Like,
charging your friends 50 cents for a photocopy from the public library is cool.
listen, you want a piece of that? Awesome.
I guess. So you're right. We went like this because you went east and I went west.
I went into music first, as was expected. I went to the Eastman School, opera. And yeah.
I went the music route first too,
but you went like mainstream music. I went Fusi. Yeah, I went opera.
That was supposed to be mainstream. I don't know if anybody in the mainstream enjoyed it, but
irrelevant.
Well, let's start with this then. I want to know about Eastman. What was that experience like? Why did you take that path in life? What was your calling to go and be not, a person working at True Value Hardware here in Cleveland Heights?
I mean, no, I did grunt jobs. Believe me, I had to work in high school to get to college, and I remember when I got accepted to college, I knew I was going for music. I thought it was going to be orchestral, but it wound up being voice, and I got like 7 or 8 auditions, and two places took me. One was Baldwin Wallace, and they gave me a free ride in Ohio. And I was like, cool. And the other was the Eastman School of Music that let me apply for grants and scholarships. So like literally, I don't know if you remember Jim Bain from Heights High School, the band director. Oh, I lived in the band room. Jim would let me use his office every day in my lunch hours so that I can apply for all kinds of scholarships and get enough money so that I can attend. And I got a job and I worked and I got there. And I was like the poor kid at the Eastman School, and they let me know that. But I wanted the best education that I can get because I thought I was going to wind up either in pop or Broadway. That was it. That was the goal. And that's exactly where I tried to get to and made it. But it wound up turning around and bringing me to Hollywood instead in the end.
Eastman's
no joke.
I mean, no, like you look, and where we're from, there are some people who did some amazing things, but it's like 6% of people from where we're from. You know, we've got
that make it, maybe. I don't know. We have Cleveland boasts, we're such a cultural city. We're one of the most cultural cities in America, which makes it hard to like I'm in Georgia now. It makes it hard to be here because I'm used to the best, man. I'm used to art museums and orchestra and the Hall of Fames. And like, I'm used to that stuff. But
and people don't realize Cleveland does have the second largest theater district in the world next to Broadway. Why? I don't know, but Playhouse Square is the shit, guys.
And I'm just saying, like, I'm available, Playhouse. I want to get back on stage. So, you know, yeah, for sure. Well, wait a minute, though. So you were in music.
I saw the Michael Jackson thing at Playhouse Square like not too long ago. I just ended up at the MJ thing. Sorry, what was your question? You had a real question for me, didn't you?
I had a real question. You started in music. You played in bands. You were cultivating some of the up and coming bands in the area. And then last I knew, we graduated. I went to Eastman, and you went where? Like I know you went to engineering, sound engineering, but like, where did you go?
I'll give you the dime store tour version of it. Like, went to 4 high schools in 4 years, did not graduate because my Catholic school history credit was messed up. So I dropped out when I was 18. I'm a dropout, which a lot of people don't know. I'm actually a high school dropout. I have a Jed Clampett, as I like to call it. I have a GED, which was fine. But they literally wanted me to repeat an entire year, even though I was getting accepted into Ivy League schools and had like a 3.7 grade average and was like, whatever. I had started going into radio. My last high school here in Cleveland, I was the music director at the radio station. And I got really kind of into that, but didn't really know what to do with it. Then I went to Kent State for a few years, and I kind of joined a band while I was kicking around and doing odd jobs and trying to go to school a little bit here and there. And I just loved it. And it's really at the heart of what I've become in other facets of my life, because what I learned then was the art of collaboration. I was not some brilliant musician like Lisa. I had been in that band room and trying my hardest to transpose music for Pep Squad, which was like the dopest version of a marching band you've ever seen in your life. We had cardigans. We used to do like New Jack Swing dancing and all this shit.
I had a braid. I was serious.
Y'all don't even know. I had a slope fade with a tail in the back. Y'all can't mess with us. Y'all, we were hard. We were early 90s hard. But so I realized that for me, it wasn't about having talent. I wasn't one of these people that had something inside me that I needed to get out. What I had was the desire to convey art. And this is why, in general, I can genuinely say I'm a producer. I make a product. That is what I do. And I'm not saying make a product like a can of Coca-Cola or whatever, but art as a product. And it could be on almost any level. But that was what led me to recording school, because, you know, we were doing these 4-track demos, and we got into this Ticketmaster music showcase, which was a big deal back then. And on 107.9 The End, they were forced to play this crappy 4-track demo that I made because I had made it so good that we got into this contest. All the other bands had been in a real studio. I recorded this in my college dorm on a cassette 4-track thing, and it was the most lo-fi thing that you could possibly do. And they were forced to play it on the radio, which was great. But also at the same time, I was like, I could have done better than that, guys. We could have done better than that. So I went to Recording Workshop in Ohio, which was just a quick little certificate program. Learned enough to get myself in trouble. Recorded an album with my band that I self-financed and put it out. It was okay. Still wanted more, so then I went to Full Sail. That was where I really learned. Like, I zigged and zagged around Cleveland and the Northeast Ohio area and bands and touring and this, that, and the other thing, going to South by Southwest, doing all this stuff. But what I really wanted to do was I could hear sounds. A band could play a song and I could say to myself, I hear what that recording should be. I want to make it what my mind sees it being. I want to collaborate with these people. I want to mold this thing together, and I want to make the product, not the live version. I want to capture that. I want to encompass that, and then I want to share it to as many people as will have it. And
Something you
that's
can
where it
hold in your
started from.
hand.
Absolutely.
You know, not the cloud stuff, but like physical copy that you can keep playing.
Tangibility was key at the time.
Oh,
and that
yeah.
was what the local bands here didn't have. They didn't have product. They didn't have the representation of what they really were. You'd go and see these great live bands in Cleveland. Like you'd go see Disengage at the time or one of these other bands, and you were like, wow, you guys are really good. And then you'd hear their tape and you'd be like, nope, that ain't it.
No,
That ain't
I can't
getting
tell
it.
you. So I had a collection of shitty recordings of great bands for so long. Some of them you turned me on to, by the way.
Yeah. And we tried. The funny thing is, I still remember walking down to Coventry when I was a teenager, and there was this guy sitting there on the stoop trying to sell me his demo tape. And I'm just laughing at him. And I'm like, bro, you've been out here every week for 2 months trying to sell all of us this. And we're just on our skateboards, just trying to have a good time. Like, give it up, bro. Give up the ghost. It's not happening.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's not happening, Trent. That's right, Trent Reznor.
Remember his name.
Trent. No, it's Trent Reznor from Nine Inch
Shit.
Nails.
Stop it.
I'm not kidding. He was trying to sell us all the Head Like a Hole demo.
Turned out to
We
be
all
an actual
laughed
genius, by the way.
Right. But it's another one of those life lessons I learned where it's like, okay, that guy had it. I could have had from Trent's own hand the original Nine Inch Nails demo. And eventually I had one of those cassettes, but I didn't get it directly from him. I got it from a friend.
I'm a little disappointed because, like, in my mind, one of your greatest assets is being able to recognize raw talent and opportunity in situations, which is why you're so successful in producing. The reality show stuff that you do is so wide, diverse of interests, like food and cars and wrestling. And like, you've done a bit of everything and you switch gears so easily. It's interesting for me, like, how, if you didn't recognize Trent Reznor.
Well, to be fair, he was just sitting on the corner like a bum. And he wasn't really playing the music,
Like
or maybe he had a crappy boom.
Person?
Right. Like, you know, he was a hardworking guy. And here's where I love Trent. He is a Greige. He is one of us. He was working his butt off. He did that whole record by himself. At the time when he was playing club shows, he was doing it by himself. He was running around stage and hitting play and go on all these keyboards, and he figured out how to MIDI sync all this stuff. And it wasn't
a sound that you had never heard before. He's completely in his own lane.
Completely. And it was maybe about 4 months later from that time when we all saw him at the grog shop by himself, absolutely killing it, doing Head Like a Hole and Down in It, and some of these songs that everybody knows now by himself. This was not two drummers, Nine Inch Nails, wrecking stuff on stage. This was one dude with a vision and a passion running around on stage who had recorded the demos himself, had tried to pawn them off to all the kids on the street, who was finally playing a show in the kind of big venue on Coventry. Like, and then 3 months after that, he's on MTV.
Right. But look at him now. I mean, the guy does film scores. Like he really is creative genius, honestly. So, and I've been diagnosed as one, like you go through the whole testing thing and all that. But like, I think of people like Reznor and I'm like, yeah, no, I get it. Like people that can see 10 different steps down the road from one decision, or like hear all the orchestral pieces in their head all at one time and like make it 3-dimensional. I love, my dad's an architect. So like, I get it. I know where it comes from.
Together.
Yeah. And you do the same thing. Producing ain't no joke.
It's about putting pieces together. And I think that you and Trent both do that as well. Like when my dad was asking me back then when I was a teenager what Nine Inch Nails was, and I said, this is the modern Beethoven or Bach. This guy is a composer. You don't realize it yet. And now it makes perfect sense because what does he do? He does a ton of movie scores. He really is a composer now. I mean, but I recognized it back then, like, and I messed up. I didn't snatch the demo out of his hand right then and there, but I recognized it pretty soon after that this guy was using new technology to compose. So, okay, Lisa, people know you for a lot of things. You went to Eastman, then you went to New York, and what What before we get into why you left New York, which is a story I know and maybe is almost a whole podcast of its own. I don't even know if we have time for that story tonight, but what was the New York experience like? What were you doing or trying to do when you were there? What, like, were you just singing? Were you acting? Were you out on the street busking? What were you doing?
I should have busked. So because of my Eastman degree, I was afforded a few opportunities that, they got me to the front of the line on a couple of things. And I was workshopping Broadway shows at the time, which later I'm wondering if maybe I sung on some Manuel stuff that eventually wound up being incredibly popular. I was like, that's awfully familiar. Anyway, yeah. But while I was retraining, because I had to retrain from opera to Broadway with John Mason, Richard Dorr, two of the best vocal grandmasters, like legends. They retrained people like Madonna, when she was singing in the musical film that she first did for Evita, So, but in order to get to that 1 hour lesson every week, this poor girl was living in Rochester, New York, where I was working at a public gala fundraising event for needy entities, celebrity athletes, corporate executives. And I had the obligations there. So I would get in my car and I would drive all the way from Rochester, New York, up through the Catskills to the Metro North, take the Metro North an hour down into Grand Central. From Grand Central, hop in a cab, go to the Upper West Side by Lincoln Center to have a 1 hour lesson, and then turn around and go all the way back to Rochester to finish my obligations for the week. And I did it every single week for 56 weeks straight because I wanted it so bad.
Oh my God.
Unbelievable. I mean, I fell asleep at the wheel so many times. It's ridiculous. But I wanted to retrain. I wanted to go to Broadway, and I also wanted to consider a pop career. So it was mostly retraining and working on that event until 9/11 happened. And then it eventually wound up having me make a different decision, a different direction in my life. And I got in my car and I drove all the way to Hollywood, California, and set up camp and got to work.
I mean, you can't have possibly made a bigger shift in life than to do that. And jumping over there, that's pretty wild. By the way, if you're watching this right now on Lisa's Instagram, and
there's a few. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. I see there's a whole bunch of you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm glad you are. I see a few familiar faces.
If you want to comment or ask us any questions, you can actually do that at the YouTube. I know there's not a ton of people there because we don't have Jack on the YouTube yet, but if you go to youtube.com/@GATMpod, that's GATMpod, which stands for Greige Against the Machine. If you go to youtube.com/@GATMpod, you can see the show live there, and you can actually send us questions if you so desire.
And it looks like you can write me on Instagram too, because I'm seeing there's a box down there. So if you have a question you want to ask my dear friend Justin Harvey, please, or myself, let me know.
Ask her.
Ask him.
Man, okay, so the 9/11 thing, and I've read, what was your blog called? Almost Lisa?
Are you reading my blog?
I have read most. I think I've read like 14 or 15 of them. How many are you up to now?
Oh, bestie, I love you. I think I've done like 22, and then I just kind of hit a wall.
Oh shit! I'm a terrible friend. I'm behind, y'all.
No, you're not.
Bad.
So I started that pandemic and then the freaking strike. I needed an outlet. And I started, the doom and gloom makes you think, well, maybe I should write my autobiography just in case. But I really just wanted to get my voice, like spill all this shit, these stories, the whole history out onto a page. And it manifested in this epic blog of like everything I've ever done or accomplished and all the shitty stories in between. And like,
I consider it a spoiler for this. Like, I think at some point in time, we'll get to a lot of those. So if you enjoy spoilers, go read her blog, and then you'll know all of the things that eventually are going to come up here.
Man.
Because it's the perfect illustration of what working class Hollywood is. I mean, the premise is basically like there's so many of these almost moments. There's so many of these moments where Lisa has gotten to the apex of something, and then there isn't the follow-up, or something else happens or whatnot. It's just like
Yeah.
It's so epic, but it is kind of the roadmap to a lot of the questions I have for you, being, that we're interviewing each other
Yeah.
to a certain extent. But like, once you got to Hollywood, what was it like realistically for people out there? You were young, you were attractive, you were talented, and you're on, it was after a catastrophe. I won't even get into the whole 9/11 thing again. That's a
Yeah.
whole other story where I know the catharsis that Lisa went through after 9/11. It was big, you guys. Just understand that that was some life-changing, earth-shattering level stuff for Lisa that I don't even want to go there yet, because that it will both break.
Keep it
It's
up.
so hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you got to LA, you're already making a career shift, which is something I've done as well. So what was your expectation of what Hollywood was, and
Ooh,
was it accurate or was it different? Like when you actually got there, it's like, I'm in
wow.
Tinsletown. I'm a part of Tinsletown now. What the
Um,
hell do I do with this?
wow, that's a great question. So I'm as you know how tenacious I am. I just made the decision and fucking did it. And I didn't have so much of an expectation other than like, I'm going to do this. But I drove, it took 3 days. I drove across country. I got there in the middle. It was February.
Wait. You got across the country in 3 days? It takes me 5 every time I've done it.
Where are you stopping? Like, what are you doing?
Go on. We
Okay,
got to talk maps and stuff.
yeah, I drive fast and far. I drive. But I got there in February 2005 in the middle of a torrential downpour. I assume I was on the 101 and it was 6 lanes and just I couldn't see 20 feet in front of my face. And I'm like, what the fuck? And the California drivers, just doing what they do. I'm like, it's gonna be fine. But I landed. I heard about this thing called central casting. I was like, yes, I signed up and I got right to work doing background work. And I was calling every day, making the most of it. I literally worked every day. Everybody at central casting in Hollywood knew me and they respected me. I was punctual and professional. Thank you, Broadway. And I just made it happen. I heard about the voucher thing, got myself into SAG-AFTRA, and it was going. It was exciting and fun. And I got agency. I started booking guest stars and co-stars. And then 2007, what happened, Justin? There was a writer's strike.
I think there was a strike because I was a writer.
Yeah. You remember when you guys pulled all the work to a stop? Well, I had been network approved by NBC just about a week before then. So thanks. Dropped.
Trust me, it wasn't my idea. I was an associate member and I had literally just gotten into WGA.
Totally get it. And I'm pro-union. I know it was the right thing to do and it had to be done. I'm not mad at all. I'm just like, fuck, I just got okay, guys. Like I'm okay. I got the cliff. Anyway, almost.
Almost, Lisa. Almost.
That blog, by the way, is on Blogspot. If anybody gives a shit, that's where it is.
First of all, they absolutely do give a shit. Like if you read and you're an intelligent human being and you like compelling human drama, there is nothing more dramatic than those kind of stories where it's like Lisa is on the verge of breaking through and being network approved and friggin' strike.
So wait, when the writer's strike happened, you were writing. What did you do at that point? You were in Hollywood? If you were, I'm mad at you.
I was big time actually. And this is where it turns into almost Justin. So after I figured out the whole producing thing that I talked about before, I went to Full Sail, which was great. I audited a lot of the film classes, but I actually got my degree in audio engineering. I got perfect attendance. I graduated like second in my class. Like I got my shit together for the first time in my life. My health was also better after I got out of Cleveland. I love you, Cleveland.
Oh, it's so cold though. It's so cold.
And all these old dusty houses and everything was terrible. I moved to Florida and went to Full Sail and I was like, oh my God, like my eyes are open. I don't have sinus. I can breathe. This is great. I actually made it to school every day for 2 years or whatever. So then I went into recording. I was an audio engineer. I started as a runner though. I paid prices to go to Full Sail, and I was basically qualified to make coffee. And one of these days, I'll give the full version of this story. But I have this thing called "Be Prepared for Luck." I got a lucky break after I moved to LA. I moved out here. I got my first choice of studio. I worked at NRG Recording, which is where No Doubt had recorded,
That's
and
right.
Fiona Apple and Limp Bizkit and all these cool bands that at the time that I thought were cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, of the alternative studios, this is where I want to go. These are people doing the music I want to do. The day I showed up, Incubus was recording "Make Yourself" in Studio A. I was a runner, however, though. I did all this work, had recorded all these albums, had been in all these bands, had toured myself, and I was qualified to make coffee. But I made the best coffee. And I will give you my secret right now. I would break up cinnamon sticks in there. I also learned how to use the espresso machine. This was before everybody and their mother was a barista. And everyone loved me. And I took care of one specific person, Ross Garfield from Drum Doctors. And Ross is a future story I can also tell. But he was a drum tech. He did the drums on every new metal and alt rock record that you heard, from Red Hot Chili Peppers' Blood Sugar Sex Magic to that Incubus album, to all the stuff on Beck's records, to Metallica. He's got the main set that they use in the studio is one of Ross's drum kits. He comes, he sets it up in the studio, he does the drum tech, he tunes it, or one of his guys. He's got like 30 guys that work for him. Ross liked my coffee. And he told my boss, the owner of the studio, Jay Baumgardner, who's produced Papa Roach and Drowning Pool and Ugly Kid Joe and all these things. He told that guy, hey, keep an eye on this kid. He's got great attention to detail. Because I put friggin' cinnamon sticks in the coffee. Because I made pineapple boats in the lounges or whatever.
But it was indicative of how much attention to detail you have, honestly. Knowing you the way that I do.
And the thing that I learned very quickly in Hollywood, in LA, was that Ohio work ethic goes a long way. Because I felt like I wasn't doing anything that any Ohio kid wouldn't do. My friend Will Sperduti would do that. My friend Charlie DeMarco would do that. Like all these guys, these people that I know that I work with and associate with, and Lisa. That's just how we work. Like you just show up and you do the freaking job. Like if somebody is counting on you for something, you don't let them down, because that is not acceptable if you're from Cleveland. You just don't let people down. So what happened was Christmas came around. This kid, Derek, who goes by D-Rock, was the assistant engineer on the Papa Roach record, and he was going home to see his family. Jay came to me and he says, Ross says you have attention to detail. I'm going to let you be the assistant engineer on this Papa Roach record, because you seem to be friendly with the band. They all like you, and you know you're going to get your chops. You know, you had one of these consoles at Full Sail. You're going to be on this record. Now, mind you, I had told Kobe from Papa Roach, and you think I can spot talent, but I told Kobe from Papa Roach probably 3 or 4 weeks before that. I knew him. They came there and did the demos. I was like, dude, I love you guys, and you work really hard, but I just don't know if I see this breaking through, man. I don't know. You guys are going to have to keep getting at it. And I'm a little bit older than Kobe, and put the button on that story. A few years later, we were sitting in a club where women dance. I won't go any further than that. But he looks over at me as he's throwing hundreds for me. He's like, hey, Harvey, you still think we're not going to make it?
Oh, shit. That is so hard.
So amazing. I mean, this is when the record was like 6x platinum by then. Or whatever. But I got to, my name's not on it, but I got to work on the first Papa Roach record. That was my big break.
That's cool.
And I worked on a lot of records up until the point where some friends from college, Charlie DeMarco was one of them, decided to write some things for the internet. It was just the internet. It was text-based. This was before video was even possible on the internet. Like, this is when it took you 10 minutes to download a
There
picture.
was a time before the internet?
Yeah, I mean, like this, you know, Al Gore's internets, both of them. They were invented in 1990, whatever. I mean, we were doing text-based comedy stuff, and a few of these things took off. We had a website called The Fat Free with PHs, fatfree.com.
Yeah.
And
I forgot about the comedy. Nice.
This was a side gig. I still had my own recording studio. I had worked with Alien Ant Farm and Sugar Ray and
Cool.
Dr. Dre and Everlast and all these fucking people.
Yeah.
Like my name is actually on platinum records eventually.
I just want to intercede and say, at this time when you were working with these bands, there was no such thing as auto tunes. You actually had to have talent. So go ahead.
Well,
Oh,
here's the
what?
funny part. I will give you a fun auto tune story because this
Oh
is what this show's
no.
all about. You want to know about the behind the scenes workings of
Yes.
the entertainment industry?
Yes.
So there's this song by a band called Lit, and it's called Miserable. You make me completely. I can't sing it or YouTube will flag us, but there's this song, and part of the reason why the chorus sounds so great is it's one of the first uses of autotune where you hear that thing
Robot thing. Yeah.
in the chorus. We were already using autotune in 1989.
Okay, but not to like make a voice.
But
To like,
the point was we were using it discreetly back then to correct issues in people's voices. We also chopped up everyone's drums and quantized them, which you don't really want to know. But we were making sausage, people. New metal especially, we were making sausage.
yeah.
And there was an assistant engineer whose name I won't mention.
Later.
And he was supposed to be doing the auto tuning on some of the backup vocals for that chorus, and he did it wrong. And it stayed on the song because he erased the other vocals, and that's what you hear in the actual track. That kid was fired.
That is awesome, though. Like what?
And
It's
it
like
became a sound. Cher, that "Do You Believe" thing came after it, which was like a combination of auto tune and vocoder. T-Pain started.
Yeah.
And did you know that T-Pain can actually sing?
Yes. I know this. So don't underestimate. Remember, I was trying to cross into pop. And at the time I was crossing into pop, we said, oh, I miss the studio. We spent a lot of time in the studio. A lot of time in the studio hearing raw tracks of up and coming talent.
Talent's an interesting word to use.
You know one of them. Some of them went on to extraordinary success. Maybe that shouldn't. Irrelevant. But the raw tracks were telling.
Yeah, one of the things that I've learned, look, and it's not just music, TV as well. Talent is not always what drives success. It really isn't.
In fact, talent and integrity, especially integrity, are not requirements.
They're not.
Yeah.
And what you learn from that and what you take away from that is that, and you have to understand this at all times, entertainment is a results-based industry. It does not matter what you do as long as you get the results. If you're trying to monetize it. If you're trying to monetize it. Now, if you're trying to do high art.
Well, okay, so here we are at this juncture in time with the entertainment industry. And I mean music, I mean, editing, I mean filmmaking, obviously, all across the board. Everything is about monetization. It's gone so corporate, so Wall Street. The returns have to be there. It's more about producing content, that word hurts, than art. And there's obviously exceptions to the rules and they break through, but very rarely, very rarely.
Yeah, it's super odd. And it's part of one of the things that I did not like about my job at NRG, and no disparagement to any of those bands or the people that I worked with. I loved that period in my life. But it was making sausage, like I said. There were times when I hated what I was doing. Like, I worked with the guys who did the Butterfly song.
Oh,
You're my butterfly, sugar baby.
You're my sugar.
Yeah, Shifty, Shell Shock, and Epic.
Oh my God! Yes, I know.
Shifty just died recently too.
I missed that.
Rest in peace, brother. But there was a point in time when I'm sitting in the control room and I had to sample the Chili Peppers for the loop that they wanted to do for that thing, and I was the one that had to do that. Yeah, great. I got a quadruple platinum record on my wall, but I had to do this thing to a piece of music that I loved that just felt despicable. It was dirty. Like, oh, it's so dirty.
Okay,
like 5 showers dirty.
Let's just stay here as a classically trained musician. How many times do you think I go, when they inappropriately use some piece of music? Like, Carmina Burana. Carl Orff, brilliant, gorgeous opera. The opening, O Fortuna, has been so misappropriated in commercials for diapers in the Winter Olympics. Do they not know it's about a mass orgy? Like, it's all debauchery, the whole thing.
Yeah. Well,
so wrong.
Caligula's public domain too. I hate to see what people are going to do with that, like, and I think people are going to be shocked very soon as certain things, and this will be a great topic to find a guest to talk about it with this. A lot of things are going to start reaching public domain soon. Like, you're seeing these Mickey Mouse and Winnie the Pooh horror movies. It's because the IP has been around for 100 years now. Yeah. Peter Pan, anybody can do Peter Pan now. It's public domain. Yeah. After something has been around for 100 years, guys, it's open for interpretation. Anybody
you hear that, guys? Creators, you can take these things and run with them.
Yeah. And nothing is new. It's like, the Odyssey took 2,000 years before it had a remake. Like, 100 years might not be enough, guys. I don't know.
Somewhat of an exaggeration, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, no, it wasn't quite 2,000.
Justin.
But it's beside the point. I'm just saying that, like, when they say nothing in art is new, that's not true, but commercial art does have a lot of repetition.
For sure.
Like, a lot. And there's certain formulas, and I can tell you a lot about some of those.
You hear the audiences are like, there hasn't been anything new in Hollywood. You guys make the same shit. First of all, the Greige, the journeyman, we do not have a say. We get a call for work and we're like, yes, I'm available, and we work. We are not the decision makers at the top there. So whatever your grievance is about the remakes, nothing to do with us. And we don't even know that they are half the time. Like, it's got a code name and we call it that until the end of time, until it's out. But it's not us. We don't make those decisions.
It's not our fault. And so I felt terrible. There's like, I'm in the studio, and especially with drum editing, where it's like some brilliant drummer, and I'm going to have one of those guys on this show. Me and Lisa were talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
The drummer from Alien Ant Farm. I love Mike. And I worked on their first album, with the Annie, Are You Okay? All that crap. I was there that day. I also was responsible for doing the drum editing on 2 of the songs on that album, where I took every single note that drummer played, and he's an amazing drummer, by the way. I took every note that he played, cut it up, quantized it to the beat, and then I went in and humanized it to give it swing feel and put the snares just a little bit back in the pocket so it felt fun.
Yes, you felt it, yeah. Yeah.
I'm playing the drums. That's ridiculous.
That's cool. What do you mean?
This shit I've ever heard in my life. Like, why am I playing the drums on the Alien Ant Farm record in Pro Tools when this other guy is a brilliant artist and he had everything right? Like, whatever. That's how the music industry was then. There was a little bit of a conveyor belt, a little bit of a product. Everything had to be like,
yeah. Yeah, it just got a little corporate.
But so let me get to the strike part real quick. Mm-hmm. I did music for a while. Then we were doing this comedy thing. It took off overnight. We got cold called. Me and my partner, we were running this company for this website. We were selling ads, so it was a company. It was 3 of us: Chris Queen, Charlie DeMarco, and myself, Justin Hartley. We were running the fatfree.com. We had 40 writers working for us, maybe even more. And all of a sudden, we got cold called from Warner Brothers. Cold call. They called us. Vice president at Warner Brothers in development called us and was like, come pitch me. We're like, okay. We don't know what the fuck we're doing. We had no idea. We had no clue. We walked onto the Warner Brothers lot, big time, full passes in the executive commissary, whatever, meeting with the vice president of development, and we're just pitching him ideas, throwing stuff around, not having any clue what we were doing. 2 days later, we're getting a call. We got called from Michael Kybus from CAA, who wants to be our agent. And we're like, wait a minute. We don't know anything, but we know you're big time. And so as soon as that happened, we stopped and we were like, we better find agents. And that was mostly me having a little bit of Hollywood savvy. My friend Charlie DeMarco was basically a graphic designer, and our other partner, Chris Queen, was in Atlanta, and he was a tech guy. He built the website. So we talked to Emil Gladstone at one agency. We talked to Bill Weinstein and Brian Besser. who's eventually who we went with, and we talked to Kai this. We did not go with CAA. We felt that was too big. We actually ended up at Endeavor.
I get it.
Ari Greenberg and Ari Emanuel brought us in, but Bill Weinstein and Brian Besser and Hugh Fitzpatrick were basically our day-to-day guys, and they brought us in. Those guys went on to start Verve, another huge agency. They signed the same week they signed us and the It's Always Sunny guys. They were our contemporaries.
Wow.
And we sold, by the way, we sold before the It's Always Sunny guys. They happened to just have been better.
There's no rhyme or reason. Because we're at 45 minutes, I want to stop and remind people who tuned in. Listen, this is Greige Against the Machine. This is our first episode. The reason why it's Justin and myself is because we thought for our first episode, we want to interview so many people in the arts and entertainment, but we thought for number one, we wanted to interview each other. So this is my childhood bestie. This is like the first time we've actually done anything like this together. And so we're thrilled that you're here. If you've got questions for us, you can put them in my chat on Instagram for sure. This will go up on YouTube. We're figuring this out. I'm kind of an idiot to podcast. Justin's a producer. This is his deal. I'm just showing up. I'm just a talking head. So let me know if you've got questions you want me to ask him or questions you want to ask me. And we'll keep rolling around.
And she's right. Please do ask us some questions because we'd love to just get insight from everyone, or just throw a comment out too.
Yeah, or if there's someone that if someone out there that I know that I've worked with that wants to be on the show, reach out.
I know I've got a couple lining up already.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yours are probably better though.
Oh, I don't know about better. Listen, everybody's got a story. It's the best part.
They do. There's a ton of stories, and that's the whole reason to do this. We want to hear those stories. We have to get those stories.
I have found the perfect. It sucks where we're at right now. My job is perfect for me, and I for it. We fit. Like, it's my lover. It is my homie, my boyfriend, my husband. My job is awesome. It challenges me constantly. I'm constantly learning new things. I never get complacent because it's problem solving moment to moment, as you know. Meeting new people, diverse backgrounds, diverse financial and ethical backgrounds. It's so lovely. It's like constantly painting on a blank canvas, and it's not easy, and it is not for everybody. It isn't. There's a certain faction of audience that hates Hollywood people that have no clue about what the job really is, and they wouldn't make it a week, honestly.
Yeah, so they really wouldn't.
You can ask us questions, and we were going to answer all of them within the degree of NDA that we might not be able to. We will answer everything.
I've signed a lot of those.
Oh my God, 22 years of them.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
Does the job bring you chocolate and flowers and take you dancing? It's not quite the perfect lover yet.
No. Listen, I'm busy. I got to work instead.
Okay, well.
I'm sorry.
As soon as the job starts taking you dancing, I'm going to be like, oh, we're never going to see Lisa again, guys.
It's not a fair time to ask me because, like, we didn't work last year. We were on strike for fair wages and working conditions, like the whole year, and we're not back. And
we're so not back.
I don't know if we want to touch on this tonight, but
we can a little bit, but getting to the strike thing, like me and my writing partner, we got signed. We developed a TV show with Ashton Kutcher that we sold. It was really funny. It was about to go into production, and they needed a mid-season replacement, so they put this show called The Loop, which you've probably seen. It ran 6 episodes on Fox instead of our show. But they said the home setup was too similar to the show that we did called Chronicles of a Wasted Life, which was way better. It's about a kid having a quarter life crisis.
Nice.
He moves back home. He joins his local rock band. And all these guys move into a house with him. It was very that 70s show because we were developing it with Ashton. And yes, when I say developing with Ashton, I don't mean just for Catalyst. We were actually in a room with him and his partner Jason Goldberg that came up with Punk'd every day. And we were totally, it was great. It was a lot of fun. We kicked around a bunch of ideas. We came up with a show. We sold it. We got paid. I made $100,000 for like 4 weeks of work, guys. It was the craziest thing I've ever happened in my life. And so we were signed at Endeavor before William Morris merged with them, like the Endeavor. We were totally signed. We were pitching at Paramount. We were working with Blumhouse on an idea before Blumhouse was Blumhouse. We were doing stuff with Adam Sandler's company. We had this great animated thing called Good versus Evil that was about two guys who died in a weird mishap, and one got pulled into corporate evil and one got pulled into corporate good in the afterlife, which is heaven and hell. But they were forced to go back and try to bring souls to one side or the other. Very odd couple thing. They were roommates in the afterlife and just stupid, weird shit. It was animated, Adult Swim, non sequitur, hilarious shit.
Wow.
We were doing stuff like this. We had all these things in development, and the writer's strike hit.
Oh, Jesus.
Just like, yeah, guys, go home for a while. My writing partner was burnt out, and he was over it. He hated the fact that every time we went in, especially on that idea, one day we'd pitch the Sony guys, and they'd be like, yeah, can you make it a half-hour animated thing that's more like Seinfeld-y, whatever. And then we'd be like, okay, great. We'd go home. We'd write a bunch on it. We'd come up with all these great jokes. We'd do 3 bangers and toppers and the whole thing. We would scientifically craft comedy. Then the next time we would go back, none of those guys were in the room. It'd be all of Sandler's guys. And they'd be like, yeah, can you make it more random, more non-sequitur, like 15-minute Adult Swim, like this stonery comedy, late night, whatever. And we'd be like, yeah, we can do that.
We could do anything.
Write all that shit. Come back. Those guys were ghosts, and then it's all the Sony guys in the room. My writing partner, Charlie, was like, I am done with this. This is BS.
Man.
We literally did that 12 times on that idea. And that's without a paycheck. And he was like, nah. So when the writer's strike happened, I went into reality TV as an audio guy to pay bills, to be a Greige, to do my part.
But you worked on some great stuff. You were on some hot shows.
Some of them were not bad, and I loved it. The very first thing I did was a show called American Hot Rod. I had been in recording studios and sitting behind a keyboard writing for a decade solid at that point. And I got out and I saw real people doing stuff with their hands and found this way to do this storytelling with what was really happening in their lives. And American Hot Rod was pretty early on in the reality boom. On Discovery Channel. And that was, for me, kind of like what you said. I was just like, this is it. I love music. I love all this other stuff, but this really speaks to me. I love telling these real people's story and filming their craft and their artwork and doing that collaboration thing. It fit that model for me.
It just, when the magic comes together, that's just so nice.
So look, you were in LA, and at some point in time, I realized Lisa was in LA. I don't even know how that happened. Facebook or some kind of social media, or maybe.
How did we figure that out? Did I find you on social?
It must have been.
No idea.
I had lost track of pretty much everyone until Facebook happened.
Yeah.
I did not talk to anybody from Cleveland anymore. Like, I didn't even have the Rolodex with their phone numbers in it anymore. And yes, I said Rolodex because that's what you had to write people's phone numbers down back then.
Only one of us had a pager in high school, and it wasn't me. Just saying.
She wanted to know where my shady ass was.
That's right, your mom. That's right.
She really did. But after we reconnected, I started seeing you pop up. And the coolest thing, I said this earlier to Lisa before we went on, is I consider myself one of her biggest fans because, if not her biggest fan, because I was just always already watching the things that she was doing half the time. Like, she would be in a video game and it was like, oh, I play that video game. She would do a stunt thing and be like, oh, I watched that show. She would act in something and be like, oh, that's my favorite. Like, my question,
you might have been seeing.
I got to ask you about, here's my favorite question. I want to ask you about Hamilton. Not the play, the actress working with.
Oh, Linda?
Hamilton. Yes.
Ms. Hamilton. Oh.
Yes. Oh my God. I lost my mind when I was like, Lisa's going to be in a movie with Linda Hamilton. What is happening? It's a dream come true for me.
I got to say, that was a random booking. I don't know if I had just gotten into stunts or not quite yet. I was full-time acting and I was doing good at the time, and I was working all the time before the writer's strike. But I got this role through a friend who knew this producer in the UK, and Tom, who was in town, was like, well, let's meet her. You know, he said she'd be great for this acting thing. I'm like, God, that's random. God, I hope I don't get abducted. But I went. And it turns out it was a legitimate opportunity. They were doing an independent film overseas. Linda was the lead on it, along with Stanley Townsend, and just a strew of incredibly talented people. And they booked me on it. So like I jumped on a plane, hopped over, and we worked in the UK for a month together. Before Linda, the second I got there, I met the makeup and hair department. Mind you, this is like we land and then it was like a 3-hour drive. I'm freaking exhausted to this place in the middle of the moorlands, nowhere, UK. And then these lovely makeup and hair people go, okay, we're going to need to put this Mercedes emblem on your butt. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? It's a thing in the movie. If you saw,
you gotta watch the movie.
Trust me, it was really funny. So I wound up having to drop trow and sit on a Mercedes emblem in a chair for about 15 minutes, like from the get-go, while I'm meeting everybody and shaking their hands. So I walked to set that evening. I think we started, and all I hear is, "Oh my God, is that?" And she called me by my role, and I look up and it's Linda, and I was like, "Ah, fucking cool. It's cool," you know. She's amazing. She's an actor's. The thing is, like, I started my acting career with such great people who gave an incredible support system. They were actors who helped actors, and they were extraordinarily talented. And that was the bar. I thought, I was like, yeah, man, I'm going to work with great people. She's an actor's actor. She's encouraging. She trusts that you know what you're doing. She brings the best out of everybody. Never complained once. It rained all the time, and she never complained. And at the end of it, she's like, you ever been to London? I was like, no. She goes, come on, I'll take you. Wouldn't you know, this awesome chick, down to earth as all hell, we went on the train to London. She puts me up in a hotel. We go see a Broadway show together and shoot the shit, and just as real can be. And I remember I had been given this amethyst, my birthstone, on a chain. It was like an antique from somebody back in Rochester, New York, who said, you know, it's going to take a while. She's like a soothsayer. It's going to take a while, but you're going to do really big things. And this will protect your heart chakra. And I was like, fuck yeah. Thank you so much. For some reason, and I had gone through 9/11 and I had gone through some wicked shit by then. And I was finally starting to feel myself. And we were sitting on this fountain in the UK, in London, shooting the shit. And I just felt like, wow, you should give this to her. So I took it off my neck and I gave it to her. Now, Linda, we've crossed paths briefly through social media a couple times since, but she's somebody who, like, she's not very Hollywood. She's so not Hollywood. She can't be bothered. She's cool. She's living her life. If you wanted to reach her at a point in time, you had to send a carrier pigeon to Malibu and hope that it got a message to her. Like, she don't give a shit. But yeah, her and I think Ellen Barkin are probably the coolest fuckers.
Oh, I want to get into that too, because I love that
them.
show. Before you were even on it, I was watching the shit out of that show.
Gosh, she's cool. She's cool. Another
Lisa, here's what I want to do. One of the things that I think was great about the heyday of the entertainment industry and serializing things was the cliffhanger. I think we should do this. I think we're going to end episode 101 right now. We're going to take a quick break because we're almost at an hour. And I think we should do part 2 of this tonight.
Let's go. I think people would be cool with that. Yeah. You guys want to jump back on it?
And there's a lot more of your story that I want to hear. So let us take a quick 5-minute break. We're going to end episode 101. We're going to come right back with episode 102. We're just filling the YouTube page up once here on the very first day. But I think that there's a lot more to unpack, and I think that there's some fun stuff that we can talk about and that we can share with the audience. So,
down with it.
Yeah, in honor of the great Chuck Woolery, who recently passed away, we'll be back in 2 and 2 for episode 2. See you guys shortly.